Hello everybody. If you want to read all the story's content in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Short story 729, Signal in the Dust, Intermediate. Martin Lewis was a radio technician who lived in a quiet coastal town. Every evening, after finishing his shift at the harbour workshop, he liked to experiment with an old portable receiver that he kept in his garage. It was an old silver box with scratched knobs and a bent antenna, but it still worked well enough to catch unusual signals. One warm evening in late summer, the receiver picked up a strange rhythmic pulse. It was not music, not a voice, and not the usual crackle of distant storms. The sound was steady, like a coded message. Martin listened carefully. The pattern repeated every 20 seconds. He wrote the sequence in a notebook, believing it might be a form of amateur communication. Over the next few days, the signal grew stronger. People at the harbour mentioned unusual flickers in their radio systems, and fishermen complained that their navigation tools seemed slightly off. Martin felt curious but also uneasy. Something about the pulse felt deliberate. One night, determined to understand the source, Martin drove to an abandoned industrial yard outside the town. Years ago, the yard had been used for research on marine equipment, but now it was silent and covered in dust. His receiver beeped faster as he walked between the rusted metal frames and empty storage units. The pulse was definitely coming from somewhere inside the yard. He followed the signal to a small concrete building with no windows. The door was unlocked. Inside, he found dusty tables, broken screens, and a single metal cabinet humming softly. The cabinet held an old experimental transmitter, still connected to a damaged power supply. A loose cable had formed a simple repeating loop, accidentally sending the rhythmic pulse across the coast. Relief washed over Martin. There was no hidden message, no danger, only a forgotten machine waking itself by accident. He disconnected the power supply and the pulse stopped at once. The silence felt peaceful. A few days later, the harbour technicians confirmed that their equipment was stable again. Fishermen said their tools worked better. Life in the town returned to normal. Martin kept the old receiver on his shelf, but he did not chase any more mysterious signals for a while. The experience taught him that curiosity can lead to answers, but sometimes answers hide in the most ordinary places. Vocabulary notes. Rhythmic. Meaning, having a regular, repeated pattern of sound or movement. Example, the receiver picked up a strange rhythmic pulse. Why it is used. The pulse was repeating in a steady pattern, almost like a beat. Similar words: regular, patterned, steady, measured. Uneasy, meaning feeling slightly worried, uncomfortable, or unsure about something. Example, Martin felt curious but also uneasy. Why it is used. Martin sensed that something about the signal did not feel right. Similar words: nervous, uncertain, concerned, anxious. Abandoned, meaning left empty and unused for a long time. Example, Martin drove to an abandoned industrial yard. Why it is used. The industrial yard was no longer active and had been left to decay. Similar words: deserted, neglected, empty, derelict. Deliberate, meaning done on purpose, intentional. Example, something about the pulse felt deliberate. Why it is used. Martin thought the signal might have been created by someone intentionally, rather than being random noise. Similar words: intentional, planned, purposeful, conscious. Transmitter, meaning a device that sends out signals, often radio or electronic. Example, the cabinet held an old experimental transmitter. Why it is used. This machine was responsible for accidentally sending the repeating pulse across the coast. Similar words: sender, broadcaster, signal unit, radio device. Story written by ChatGPT. Image created by ChatGPT. To read all the story's content in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. CC Music, drifting at 432 Hz, Unicorn Heads.
How does a random noise become a mystery that gives you chills? That's what we're digging into today. We're going to break down this short story, Signal in the Dust, and really look at the clever tricks it uses to build all this suspense from just one little pulse. And it all comes down to this one thought. This is the hook right here. This is what takes plain old static and turns it into a message, maybe even a threat, a real mystery. And pay attention to that word, deliberate. Seriously, that one word is the engine for this entire story.
All right, so first things first. Let's look at the setup. In any great mystery, you've got to lay the groundwork. You have to show us what's normal before you mess it all up. And that's exactly what happens here. So who's our guy? Meet Martin Lewis. And get this, he's not some super spy or a hard-boiled detective. He's a radio tech. And that is such a key detail, right? His life is totally normal, which makes him relatable to us. But his special skill set makes him the absolute perfect person to guide us through this very specific kind of mystery. And boom, here it is. This is the moment it all starts. The moment something weird breaks through the everyday. The story makes it super clear. This signal is not normal. It's not music. It's not a voice. It doesn't fit anywhere. And that, of course, gets Martin's attention, and ours too. Now that word, rhythmic, is everything. It's the story's first big clue. Think about it. Noise is just random chaos, right? But a rhythm, that suggests a pattern, some kind of order, and our brains are just wired to hunt for patterns, to look for a reason behind things. A good writer knows this and totally plays on that instinct. Okay, so the hook is in. Now we're getting to the good part, the rising action. This is where the author really starts to cook. They start tightening the screws, raising the stakes and turning what was just a little curiosity into this creeping sense of dread. And look at how things escalate here. It's not some sudden explosion. It grows day by day. It starts in Martin's little workshop, and then it starts leaking out into the rest of the town, causing actual problems. That slow burn, that's a classic suspense move. It makes the whole thing feel so much more real and a little sinister. And here are those problems I was talking about. They're not, giant catastrophes that would be over the top. Instead, it's these small, worrying things. Radio's flickering? Okay, that's annoying. But navigation tools going wonky for the fishermen? Whoa, that is a brilliant move. Suddenly, this isn't just a weird noise anymore. It's actually dangerous. And that feeling? It's uneasy. That's exactly where the author wants us to be, right alongside Martin. We've moved past, that's weird. And now we're in, this is not good. We're feeling what he's feeling, that this isn't a puzzle anymore. Something is actually seriously wrong. And that brings us right back to the most important word of the whole story, deliberate. Was it on purpose? Is it intentional? That is the question driving all the suspense. Is this just some random glitch, or is someone or something doing this? Okay, here we go. This is the turning point. Up until now, the mystery came to Martin. But now, he's going to the mystery. He's done just listening. He's taking action. He's going to find the source. And we're going right along with him, straight into the climax. This is a huge shift, right? He goes from just listening to actively investigating. That uneasy feeling has finally boiled over, and now it's just pure determination. At this point, the need to know what's going on is bigger than the fear of what he might find. And the setting, an abandoned industrial yard, it's just perfect for building suspense. I mean, an abandoned place isn't just empty, it's full of forgotten things, right? Tech left to rust. It taps right into that fear of places society is just left behind. You just have to wonder, what secrets are hiding in there? And you can feel the pace quicken here. The beeps get faster and faster. It's like a heartbeat. It's pulling him closer. It's pulling us closer. The tension is just ratcheting up with every single step. And then he sees this.
a small, concrete building with no windows. I mean, talk about a great visual. A building with no windows is just automatically secretive. What's going on in there that you don't want anyone to see? It's the literal black box at the heart of this whole thing. And then, this last little detail. The beeps got him here, but now there's something else. A low hum. That's the sound of a machine that's on. The source is right there, just behind that door. You can't get more suspenseful than this. And now, the reveal. This is it. All that tension that's been building and building is about to snap. It is time to see what's inside. But the author makes us wait just a little longer, walking us through it. So first, Martin goes in. Then he's looking around this dusty, broken-down room. And finally, he finds it, the humming metal cabinet. It's a great way to keep us hanging on for just another second before we get the answer. So, what is it? It's a transmitter, a piece of equipment literally made to send out signals. Okay, so that answers how it's happening. We know what's making the noise. But that still leaves the biggest question. Who put it here? And why? And here's the big twist. It's perfect. All that suspense, that feeling that it was deliberate, all that tension, we were all expecting some big intentional secret plot. But the reality? It's boring. It's just a broken machine. A glitch. The story completely flips our expectations on their head. It's brilliant. So that's it. Mystery solved. Now we get to the resolution, where we see what happens next, and more importantly, what we can learn from all this. What's the big takeaway from this whole thing? And the ending is super straightforward. Martin just unplugs the transmitter and the problem's gone. The radio stopped flickering, the navigation tools are back online, and everything in this quiet little town goes back to normal. Just like that, order is restored. And that leaves us with this final idea. This story, it's not really about a broken machine, is it? It's about mysteries themselves. It's about how we love to imagine these big, complicated, exciting explanations, but sometimes the answer is just simple. It's ordinary. So I'll leave you with this. What do you think? Can a totally ordinary answer still be a satisfying end to a really great mystery?